Welcome to First Impressions. I'm Spencer. It is Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. Today we're talking about wickedness. Never was happiness, but wine sure is.
That is for damn sure. And my name is Kevin.
And I am Will.
And I am Belinda, and we are drinking wine in remembrance of him.
The blood of Christ compels you.
Yo, what are we drinking this week?
How about a drink first, since Jesus decided to manipulate us and
We
die
are
for our
drinking the
sins without our
blood of
consent?
Christ.
Oh my god.
The
But
blood
Jesus
of-
was one of the first home brewers. So like, turning that water into wine. all the time.
Jesus Christ!
Jesus Christ, pour me some wine.
Jesus Christ!
Speaking of
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
Have you-
I busted my decanter getting ready
Have
for the
you?
show.
What happened?
No.
I just chipped it, but you can't use a fucking chipped
No.
decanter.
Why not?
Right
'Cause
on
you're
the
fancy
tip,
as
too.
fuck,
Ah.
Kevin. I
don't
don't
use
use
a
a
chip
chip
No,
decanter.
because I don't like to
God
swallow
forbid,
glass.
God forbid I use a chip decanter. Not in this reality.
No, because
Sorry,
I have
what?
swallowed glass before.
You have?
Ooh.
from a chip bottle top.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah,
My
it
mom,
wasn't
when I was
great.
younger, she would say,
I guess I
if you
should have
stepped on a glass shard or if it got into your skin, it would enter your bloodstream and kill you because it would make its way to your heart. So I've, for years and years and years, had this like irrational fear of
It's
glass
like that-
shards.
It's like that meme. that
Like
you
seriously,
posted,
that's the logic tree in my head. Glass shard death.
Okay,
by
as a
attack.
noob, as like a complete noob. So we were texting earlier, and you had told us to take our wine out of the fridge or something. What is this decanting? And because this is literally how I do my wine. I just keep it in the fridge because I'm
I
gonna
just
drink
mine
it.
from the bottle.
I'm gonna drink it soon anyways. Like I don't have a bunch of wine
Yeah.
stuff sitting.
If you're gonna drink it soon, it's not that big a deal. If you're going to store it for any significant length of time, go Spencer. It's best to keep
Nice.
it right around 55 degrees.
Okay.
If you're gonna keep it for more than like say even a month, you shouldn't just keep it like at room temperature. 70
don't
is too
store it
warm
upright.
to store it. And that's a debated thing. I don't want to get into that whole bullshit because I had enough arguments with people on Facebook about that. There is
We
a
can
very,
fight
very
with the other
little
ex-Mormon
evidence.
alcohol podcast about it.
exactly.
I'm just kidding.
No, Aaron had my back on that shit actually. So shout out to Aaron and Words of Whiskey.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Jesus Christ!
Jesus
We're
Christ.
propping up the other. Yeah.
So
the
what's decanting though? What is that?
Let me show you my busted up decanter that right now has this in it because I was pouring it back into the bottle.
You were trying to aerate it, right?
You can see I chipped the fuck out of the tip there.
Here.
And I
Chip
did
the
strain
tip with
it.
Kevin.
I did strain the wine as I poured it back into the bottle so that, I didn't have glass go straight to my heart. Your mom can rest easy.
Death slices.
Here's the
not
thing.
Slivers.
For temperature, for white wines, a general good rule of thumb is like 45 to 50 degrees is the optimal temperature for drinking. And for red wine is more like 55 to 65 degrees, depending on the varietal, meaning the type of grape. You can find references online easily enough as to which. I actually at no, not DI. What's the
Goodwill?
The other Goodwill.
Goodwill.
I got this for like $2. This what is it like?
A wine chiller. Yeah.
Oh, an automatic wine chiller. So you slide the projectile into the.
So you were going past the tip. You slide the whole thing
Yeah,
in.
not just the tip. The whole shaft goes into the wine chiller, and then it's electronic, and you choose what variety it is, and it just chills it to the proper
For
temperature.
$2?
Nice for $2.
Dude.
It was new in the box.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
I mean, it had a lot of dust on it. It was probably like some wedding gift someone.
Okay, but I still don't understand why decant?
So decanting is not just about the temperature. It can help especially if it's over chilled. But decanting is to add. So in the bottle, air is the enemy of wine. It will cause it
Fucking
to go bad
air.
very quickly. Yeah. But especially for a red wine, and Belinda probably knows a lot more about this than I do, so feel free to pipe in. But you want to add that air to open it up is what they say. I don't know the science behind it. Belinda might, but
No, but just you want to aerate the wine a little bit, let some air into it. So if you're pouring it straight into a glass, don't fill your glass right up past the widest part of the glass. Fill it just barely to the widest part of the glass so that it has plenty of space to
Yeah, I did a good job.
get there. But yeah.
That's part of the reason for often with decanters you see an unusual shape. It makes them a pain in the ass to clean sometimes. But when you pour it in, it kind of flows down the shaft and then spreads out.
I can't even right now.
Very descriptive, I know.
He likes to use the word shaft often.
Shaft.
So does it make it taste better? Is that what it is?
Yeah, even the temperature does. So in wines, you have things called tannins. If you over chill a wine, the tannins come to the forefront, and it tastes different than its optimal flavor.
Yeah, and another reason to
decant
too. Yeah, and another reason to decant wines is if they're older wines, older reds, they will get sediment in the bottom. So you decant the wine into a decanter and let the sediments fall to the bottom, and then you're not drinking crunchy bits with your wine.
Or chewy.
Okay, but is
this? I've had both. Yeah.
Is this one of those like, kind of like snobby, like, oh, you're only supposed to drink whiskey with like only 1 drop of water type of thing, or is it like noticeably you can taste it better?
I have always drank my red wines at room temperature, but I have noticed a difference in taste when you chill it a little bit, and I'm very imprecise when it comes to chilling wines. I do like my white wines chilled more so than not. They taste different to me.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and then I'll say decanting, and I don't know if you mentioned aerating or not. I was admittedly not paying attention, but if you have an aerator, that totally helps too. Just helps open up the wine. I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you do hear and I go back and forth on, first and foremost, when we're talking about wine, in my opinion, the most important thing is your own personal taste, right? When you first start drinking wine, usually you like things that are different than after you've had some experience. Very similar to what we talked about last week in the episode no one listened to about whiskey. Like, you know, some people prefer water, some people prefer it neat, some people on the rocks. Same thing with wine. Like, what tastes good to me isn't necessarily going to taste good to you.
He likes ice in his wine.
Oh my God.
Teasing.
Oh,
I put ice in my beer. Is that okay? Just kidding.
Wait. Is that no?
No.
Is that a bad thing?
That's bad.
Don't
do that.
Ice in there.
Big gulp cup of beer with
ice.
Yeah.
That would be badass. So if you
Bud
go
Light
into Maverick
with
and
ice.
get, like,
might make it better.
Beer.
In a highball glass. Thank you.
Fancy.
But
That's how like a rich person would eat it, like how they do like eat pizza with like forks.
I would like Bud Light
Snickers
in
bar
a
with a
highball
slurp.
glass on the rocks with a spoon, please. And you're like,
A
"What?"
straw.
Are we all drinking now? Because I'm
drinking.
We
Yeah.
are sipping.
Parched as fuck.
So if you haven't picked up, the theme of the show today is red wine, aka the blood of Christ, because it
This
is
drink.
blood of Christ.
where we celebrate Zombie Jesus.
Zombie
And
Jesus, baby.
Today, I have a Colhuaga Valley Estate Vineyards Route 1 Carmener. I just got some random red wine. I was like, I'm gonna try something different because normally I go to the big 4, if you will. I'll do a Pinot, Sauv Blanc, Cabernet Sauv, or Merlot. Those are my
Go-to,
4.
yeah.
But there's
Merlot.
different
Fuck
types
Merlot.
of reds. You've got Shiraz. You've got
It's a
what
quote
was it?
from a
Picante?
movie, yeah.
No, I forgot the name.
Conte's like salsa.
No. Chianti.
Oh, there you go.
I know I'm not a wine expert,
But it goes lovely with
You
a
can-
nice
Picante.
you can
Taste
email
Picante.
me Spencer at Thirst Impressions
Cheers.
show. Not really, if you have gripes, but
You can email
yeah,
that.
I would say my top 2 wines are a cab. Well, I should say a red blend, really, because I just like a nice chill.
That's
red
what I'm drinking right now.
Yeah, or I'll do a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc
Okay.
because they have those grassy.
Because you like that cat piss flavor.
Yeah, it's good. It's just different, dude.
It's good.
You, like,
Spencer,
chill
tell
it.
us. Tell us about your wine and why you chose it, and what's the price point? that
I
you
chose it because it was cheap for Utah. It was $8.
Nice.
Oh wow!
It's from Chile, and I didn't
What do
know
you
what it
think
would
of it?
taste like. I've tried, random Spanish or Italian wines. I've never had a Carmenere, whatever it is. It was 13% alcohol, so I figured, bang for buck, good to go. And it has notes of blackberries, plums, cherries, and warm spice. So I thought this is gonna be interesting with notes of vanilla. It is very smooth. It doesn't strike me as being as harsh as you might expect a Cabernet or Merlot to be. And by harsh, I mean, I'm trying to think of the right words. I don't know the right words. I'm not a sommelier, but it's smooth, but it's not a sweet red wine. Like, it doesn't leave a terrible aftertaste, but it's not particularly bitter in any sense. And it just feels good in the mouth. Has a good mouth feel.
Mouthfeel. Love it.
Yeah,
What are you drinking, Will?
I am drinking just I like the Pinot Noirs. Is that how you say it?
Pinot Noir.
Pinot
Pinot
Noir.
Noir.
Pinot Noir?
Pinot
Oh, we'll put
Noir.
that in the show notes
Yeah.
for sure. What's his name? Dr.
Steve Brule.
Dr. Steve Brule. Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you seen the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Noir. Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir.
I normally just go for the Pinot Noirs because they always have like a good taste to me. I haven't had a bad one yet, so
It's a good go-to.
They are expensive though. So I
They
love
are.
them
Can
too,
be.
but like a good one, at least here in Utah, you're looking at what, 20 to 30 bucks.
yeah, I think this was in the 20 to 30 range. So
Yeah,
definitely.
and because I've tried to cheap out on Pinots, and it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So can I give you my tip?
Just the
Just a
Kevin.
tip.
Let me give you my tip, Will. Just the tip with Kevin today is
I think you did a good job of front loading this with consent. So
yeah,
we're
thank
here,
you.
like I said, we're here to
consent.
penetrate your
Always,
lives, and
always.
you are expressing proper protocol.
I
Thank you.
consent to you giving me the tip, Kevin.
Thank you. And
But
I am
just the
fully
tip.
fully protected.
Just the tip.
This is a fully protected tip.
Okay.
Here's what changed my life when it came to drinking wine and choosing wine, more importantly, because none of us are trained. None of us are even, wine can be super overwhelming when it comes to, it's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know shit about it. A little app I found that's been around for quite a while now called
Vivino.
Vivino.
Yeah.
I have a friend who works for Vivino.
VIVI.
Really?
Shout out
Tell them we're
Jesse.
big fans.
Shout out to Jessica.
What's up? Just like when you go to buy something, maybe you're going to buy some electronics, maybe you're even going to buy it here locally. But what do most people do? They go online, they go to Amazon or somewhere like that and look for, the thousands or even tens of thousands of reviews. And like you go, oh, it's 4.5 stars with 30,000 reviews. I feel pretty confident I can trust this, right? Vivino is the same thing, just for wine.
Okay.
And they have this beautiful thing. You go into the app and you click the camera button, and then you aim it at the label and take a picture. And almost instantaneously, except for the liquor stores that have a bad connection, but almost instantaneously, it will show you the review for that wine.
Right.
Not only for
Cool.
that type of wine, but for that year, that vintage,
Yeah, and that
specific thing.
Wow.
Occasionally it'll get hung up on a label that's just like a bullshit label, or if you take a bad picture or something, but
Yeah.
it's pretty consistently great.
My selection process goes something like this, where I look at the label, and if I think the label's stupid, I won't buy it.
Oh, same.
Like
Yeah.
like if it looks like they're trying to like add, like, I don't know, like the label's like really noisy, I guess is the right word. I normally think that doesn't look too good. I want like the professional looking label. That's why like this is like just like really clean. It's not gonna focus, but like that's my selection process. It's just
I am
label
a
looks
label
good.
fan too. Yeah.
Mine's more about a beautiful label, though. I love a beautiful label, and it can be plain but beautiful.
The way
but,
I
like,
pick wines is
the label for this one was a
Mm.
draw for me.
I
Let me see
fondled
if
the nipple
Mm.
underneath. Are you?
Oh.
I just
Oh,
heard
yeah.
from someone.
Mine's
I
got a
dated.
deep nipple.
Yeah, I heard from someone you dated. If you just finger your bottle of wine, and if it's super deep, you got some good shit.
Oh
Really?
my god. Is
Yeah.
that a thing?
Interesting.
Well, the assumption, or what I was told anyways, is
Deep boy.
when they're pouring wine, they kind of hold it like this. I don't know if that's true,
Oh,
but the
really?
deeper the bottom here, this is what I mean by the
Did you finish yours already?
Me?
No.
Oh, you have the lid on. Okay. I was like, how's
I'm
it
just
not
getting
pouring out?
started.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a gag reflex, by the way. But
Oh.
I've heard that when you fondle the nipple and if it's deep enough, it's a good wine. So
All right.
I was trying to figure out other words to describe mine. I don't have anything better, but it's very smooth. It's delightful. It's not too sweet and it's not too tart and doesn't feel very acidic. So
I don't like the
Mhm.
acidic wine, but I kind of like a slight tart to it is what I like. A little bit fruity is about where I'm at.
I know you were on a Pinot Grigio kick for a bit, weren't you? Or Chardonnay, that's what you were on.
I do love myself a Chardonnay.
Yeah.
I
Same.
feel like Chardonnays were my first love of alcohol, honestly, because they're just so buttery and delicious.
Sweet and buttery and
Oaky. Yeah.
But
They're lovely.
I have been on the red wine for a while now.
Really. I'm less of a red wine person, and I mean, I always keep a couple bottles on hand, but I don't drink them very often. But a couple years ago, I remember being on the way to a party, and I was at the Draper liquor store, and I'm looking at all the Pinot Noirs. I like Pinot Noir. It's, good, type of wine. It always seems to come through in a good way, right? I'm standing there, and this woman is like, "Are you looking for Pinots?" And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, the Maomi Pinot Noir is really great, and I really love that one." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll try it out." And it has never done me wrong. This is for the Vino app, it rates at a 4.1, which
Okay.
anything 4 and above is pretty, okay in my book. So I've, bought this several times. I picked that up yesterday. So it's a good one. I like the Maomi wine.
Is that the one you're drinking today?
It is, yes. So
And it's a Pinot Noir.
it is a Pinot Noir. Yep, I do like it.
I just checked my, what was this?
Your bottle, what did it
Carmenere.
say?
3.6 stars, fuckers.
Sorry.
Ooh.
On the
But you know what?
Vino app.
If you enjoy it, then you
It's
enjoy
delicious
it.
to the taste and very desirable.
Which is appropriate for this week.
Yeah, the nice thing about Pinot Noir is I've found, because I've had Zinfandels and all sorts of different wines, but and we should tell our first story of drinking wine. But the nice thing about Pinot is it's red, but it's not like full bodied, like I'm here as a meal in a bottle.
Not like a Zinfandel.
Take
that
me
can be
in.
kind
Like
of
spicy and
Well,
bold.
Zinfandel's
and,
like
yeah.
a good dessert, fruity. It's easy to drink. Like in terms of order of what's easy to drink, I think you've got Moscato, of course. People love their Moscato.
Yeah.
Like candy.
I would say maybe Zinfandel and Sauv Blanc are kind of in the same range for me. Chardonnay and Pinot Grigios are kind of the next like palatable. I would say Chardonnay the taste takes a little left turn if you're not ready for it, but
Right.
it's fine.
Well, they're oaky and they're buttery Chardonnays, and you have to make sure you're getting the right one
You're just
for
like,
what you
holy
want.
shit.
For
There's an
your
unoaked
taste,
Chardonnay I've had before though. That's really interesting. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the buttery Chardonnays. But the buttery Chardonnays are my jam.
And then you've got the like heavy shit, before you get to heavy shit, you've got your Shiraz, and then you've got your Merlot, Cabernet, of course, red blends before all that. But it's fun. Wine's fun. I like, Kevin. You can go ahead and share what you're drinking.
So I was just down in Arizona, a month and a half ago, and we got a bottle at the grocery store for dinner, and it was this Conundrum, which is a California blend, red blend. We had the 2017 down there. This is the 2018. Again, it also gets a 4.1 on Vivino, so I was excited to try it. It's very, and here's the thing, like some of the things you were describing as the things you love are the complete opposite for me. Give me a fucking oak Chardonnay any day of the week. The buttery shit can go to Will's house. I do not care for that. But you think about it, anything, people like different things, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to just about anything, when it comes to cigars, when it comes to a steak, when it comes to Mexican food, I like big, bold flavors. Like maybe we'll put in the show notes a video of me having my first ever what's it called? Memphis
Dutch rudder.
No.
Oh, the chicken.
The hot chicken.
The hot chicken.
What is it? Is it Nashville?
Nashville hot chicken.
Nashville hot chicken.
That's a good one.
So in Nashville, like the legit real deal thing.
Wow.
And I was like,
Prince's,
bring it on.
yeah.
Give me the hot shit. Yeah, I want it. Oh man, it was brutal. But
His face.
I just enjoy. I'm sweating. My nose is running. I'm just like, whoo. But we'll toss that in the show notes if we remember. But I like my flavors in my wine big and bold. This does the trick. It's very bright. It's very like dark fruit forward, like plum, cherry, kind of almost a cherry pie flavor. And a little bit of cocoa flavor as well. So kind of a rich, bold one, but that's how I like my stuff. That's why I like Zinfandels. I'm a big fan because I like a little zip, a little pepper in my, not actual pepper, but notes of pepper flavor in my.
Imagine Kevin
in my
like
wine.
sprinkling on some
I mean,
pepper.
I probably wouldn't be beyond me to try something like that. But
How much does a conundrum wine run?
it's a $20 bottle.
20? Yeah, mine was like 19, I think.
So
I rarely buy more than a $20 bottle.
my favorite bottle is by Brown Vineyards, but it's like $30, and I just don't do it very often unless I'm celebrating some special occasion. You know.
Yeah. Same with
I'll
like a
do that.
Raymond Chardonnay. Like I love a Raymond Chardonnay, but they're just more pricey than I want to
Too
spend
much.
for a drink for one night, right?
Those are like what, $35, $40 a bottle.
Yeah, or more.
Surprisingly or rather interestingly enough, the box wines are usually pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
getting
I've yet
better.
to try some, honestly.
Yeah, if you're
Well,
if you're not being too snooty and you just want to chill with friends, box
Yeah.
wine is the way to go.
But like box
I got one
wine,
right
like
here.
bottled wine, has all different levels, right? You get your like Franzia, and then
Yeah,
you get
I've
like
never
your
had a
Boda
Franzia.
box. You know,
I haven't
there are
either.
different levels.
But I mean, for $20, you get 5 bottles of wine in a box. Like that's
True.
fucking cool.
Yep.
Five bottles?
Something like that. It's like
Yeah.
4 or 5
It's-
bottles. It's
No,
good, dude.
They almost always put it. Yeah.
And it
See right there on the back.
yeah, and it's
Wow.
like
4 bottles.
4 bottles.
how do you
yeah.
say this? It's
3 liters.
like unlike a bottle of wine where you're uncorking it and air gets in. It's just nice because it's all in a sealed bag inside the box, and it stays
Now-
good in terms of taste.
Okay.
It can go bad. Usually once
Sure.
you've started it,
Anything's
after a month,
possible, Kevin.
It's probably a good idea to move on from it. But
Yeah.
This is
yeah.
the
It's like,
shaft.
what
with
is it,
Kevin.
like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something? But how long have you kept a box of wine for like 2 or 3 weeks?
We
Like,
don't speak of such things, Belinda.
Did
We won't
Will
talk
share
about
his
the-
wine?
No, I'm all about the box alcohols, man. I've got box
Yeah.
whiskey, I've got box tequila.
I haven't
just for,
tried
like,
the spirits much.
For mixed drinks, it's great.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
that's true.
sense.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
yours?
we-
What, Will?
So
Did you
how do you
share
guys
yours?
feel
I
about
We shared it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did? Okay.
how do you feel about politicians dating
that's
underage women?
Okay.
Well, it's not
unless,
new, right?
Sorry,
Yeah.
hard pivot.
Unless they're
What?
underage politicians.
What a
then
fucking week. I
probably
swear to
a
God,
no-go.
every week this year has just been like, there's something. There's just something. So Matt Gaetz, a Republican representative from Florida, who's been very vocal in his support for President Trump and all things MAGA. It turns out it's the Justice Department, and I will note that it's the Justice Department that was representative of the Trump administration that started
Really?
this investigation.
Yeah.
This investigation started when Bill Barr was heading up the Justice Department. Trump was in power, investigating Matt Gaetz, this Republican congressman from Florida, for, and it's a harsh term, but sex trafficking or child trafficking, right? I'm not sure of the correct term, but he apparently was involved with underage women. I didn't know this about Matt Gaetz. I just always assumed politicians are married, but he's a single guy. He's handsome
Out on
by
the town, yeah.
handsome by conservative women's standards. I shouldn't say that, but handsome by certain standards. He looks like
In
a
our text, we
caricature.
described him as rapey, though.
He looks
right?
rapey.
Like,
Yeah, he looks
does
rapey.
look
He looks like a
rapey.
caricature of all things horrible when it comes to sleazy men.
He
Yeah.
looks like a
Apparently
frat
is
boy.
accurate.
Like
yeah.
seriously, he looks like a caricature of, like, if you were to like draw me the sleaziest person that's rapey, you'd be like, there he is. He's got the
Yeah.
slicked over black hair, the fucked up smile,
Mhm.
you know, quick talking. Anyhow, that's been a thing this week. Surprise.
Yep.
Surprise. Oh, and by the way, there was another shooting at the Capitol.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I wasn't
is it a
following that
shooting
one
or
as closely.
the car running into a
I've
cop
heard
or
both.
something? There's
heard
too many things
both.
happening. I just don't
Yeah,
follow them anymore.
I haven't followed it too closely, but I was aware of the incident at the Capitol, and we'll certainly circle back to Matt Gaetz. But I do want to point out that this was a black man, you know, interestingly enough. And we talked last time about frustration and how that's driving people to do irrational things. And I think there's an underlying problem in this country that people feel hopeless. They feel like they have nowhere else to turn, but I'm going to fuck some shit up. I'm going to kill some people, or I'm going to take some drastic action to be heard. It's like, can we just listen? Can we be compassionate? Can we create spaces or forums for people to express their opinions before we get to this point?
Well, we won't go here because I know this is not the direction we want to go at all. But before we started recording tonight, we were actually talking about World War II and war in general and the warmongering of America overall and most superpowers in the world, frankly. But it was funny. We were talking about conversations with friends and family and whatnot. And the interesting thing is, a lot of people believe like violence almost always can be an answer, a response to something. And a question was posed to one of us, like, well, when is war acceptable then? And the response was, well, it's maybe never. like why the fuck do we have to solve problems by killing people? And especially killing innocent people. I mean, I'm not even a big fan of killing the guilty people, to be honest with you. Like, let's find a better way. It's this like really vicious cycle we get into when violence begets more violence, begets more violence, begets more violence. And then it's just what happens every day. Every single fucking day in America, we have members of our police forces, of our armed forces killing people.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think so when it comes to war, I think that there is a line with violence. Like, I think if a foreign country were to attack America, I think we would almost have to attack back as a just proportional response to flex our muscles, I guess.
But how many times has that happened?
No, absolutely. All I'm saying is, I think that would be the only justifiable way for us to actually do like a kinetic war on another country, is if but only as a defensive strategy. Like, don't be the first, like, we're not the ones
preempt.
to strike first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let me give you one of the more recent examples of us doing that. Fucking Gulf War. Well, there's Gulf War One, and that was just clearly about oil. I'm sorry, we want to help the poor citizens of Kuwait and all of their massive reserves of oil. But then the Twin Towers go down, and like literally in the moment, I remember thinking this. I remember being like, well, George W. Bush is totally justified in like fucking going to war over this, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? We're still essentially in that war.
And we didn't even tackle the right
Nothing
country.
changed.
No.
All we did was make all the people over there in multiple countries even more upset at us.
No,
instead of trying to figure out a diplomatic way of and I know not everyone's willing to sit at the table, and I know embargoes and things like that don't always work, but clearly war often doesn't work either.
No, I think you're right.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Because I think another example is a lot of the times America puts countries in situations where the country lashes out in violence, like us putting sanctions on Iran. We're like strangling their economy, and it wouldn't be surprising if they tried violence to combat that. And I hope that they never ever come to that. I know there's been a few things under Trump and even under Biden where Iran has been a bit violent, but I think you're right. I think 99% of situations, the diplomatic approach is way better than the violence approach. Because when you attack them, then it becomes the cycle. You're right. Because even if it is defensive strike, they're going to have to respond in equal proportions as well. And it just doesn't end until they're all dead. And that's just not acceptable.
And rarely nowadays does the type of war we're dealing with a vast majority of the time in the last half century actually like a bunch of their ships coming to our shore, and like it's a quick strike, it's it's some sort of act of violence where people are either dying in that act or it's maybe not even happening with them around, so it's hard to prove. And we've gotten it wrong before. We're like, oh, like Iraq has all these weapons of mass destruction being created and made. Guess what happened when we actually went in there? Yeah, it wasn't there.
And it wasn't even that. It was like literally a lie. It wasn't like,
no, it was,
we think that they have it. No, it was like, no, we know that they don't have it. We just want to go to war.
So circling back to Gates, because I didn't mean to get us down this path, and we could go for hours, and we will someday, but today's probably not the day. We can't trust politicians for the most part.
No.
This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to state some sort of fact. Like most politicians that we're dealing with a lot can't really be trusted further than we can throw their physical body, right?
Like Matt Gaetz, right?
Right, exactly.
Well,
So
even Joe
circling back to
Biden,
that,
but
Exactly.
You know what? Even AOC. I'm sorry.
you'll have to expound on that one.
She
But
do us wrong? What happened?
She did
Tell
do
us.
us wrong. She recently took Biden's side in the situation at the border, where Joe Biden, okay, fair enough. There has been a massive increase of immigrants coming into the country, and the Biden administration has basically been doing the same thing the Trump administration is doing. They're not doing the child separation policy, which was just inhumane. So at least they're not doing that, but they're still holding these poor people in basically cages, and they're not getting good food. A lot of the reports are saying that the food that they're getting is sometimes moldy, and they're still having to drink out of the prison style drinking fountains, where it's the drinking fountain and toilet.
The toilet. Yeah.
And sometimes the drinking fountain doesn't work, and so the guards tell them to drink out of the toilet. So AOC recently put out a video like on Instagram, or maybe she was being interviewed, and she's just saying like, oh, it's different under Biden because like they're trying to treat them humanely. And like, I get where she's coming from. It's not the incompetency and the just like absolute inhumane and racist violence towards immigrants that like was under the Trump administration. But at the same time, Biden has the power to fix a lot of these things, and he's not. So that's where I'm saying, like, we can't, as much as we might love some of the politicians like AOC, because I really like her as a politician, you still can't trust them. It's right. They are meant to represent us. And when they fail to represent us in any capacity, we need to call them out for it. Whether that be someone you really like or someone as evil as Matt Gaetz. Like this whole shit about him sleeping with this underage woman or girl. It's where are all of the, what do they call it? The Save Our Children people? Where are they?
Exactly.
Are they?
Yeah, I've noticed that the QAnon people, the Save the Children people, they're all super fucking quiet.
Yep, I haven't heard a peep from them. So I hear a lot of leftists calling out AOC for their perceived, slight against her leftist wing. But I don't see anybody on the right calling Matt Gaetz out.
No.
It's just not an even playing field.
That's kind of been the run of the mill though for Republicans, right? They get busted for these sex crimes over and over and over again for a political party that is overtly supported by Christian Americans, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting even seeing with Cuomo. I don't know if he'll resign or whatever, but there have
He
been
should.
people calling for his resignation. It's coming
Yeah.
from the left,
Yep.
which happens to be the party, the Democratic Party that represents him. You know, and
Yeah.
I
And
think that's healthy. That's healthy. It's
is,
healthy to call
yeah.
shit out.
Yep.
That's the right word to use. It isn't how that's how a democracy is supposed to work. We should have a voice, even if it's not an election cycle. We deserve to have a voice every single day of the week, not just every 2 years and every 4 years. We deserve to have a voice. And it's
Yeah, I
funny
mean-
that Cuomo, the way that he's trying to get away from the situation is to legalize weed, which is like,
Yeah.
that's great. Like
Look
legalize
over
weed,
here.
but it's kind of sad that like
Yeah.
he knows this is an extraordinarily popular position to have, to legalize marijuana, and it just takes him to be caught up in a scandal for him to finally be like, okay, fine, I'll give you guys what you want. Just don't make me resign.
Back
It's like,
You
down.
fucking
yeah.
gave that to us years ago.
Let's just forget about everything and smoke a little weed and call it good. Call it
True,
a
though.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the good news is, from all reports I've heard, he almost certainly won't run again. I
Yeah.
mean, it would be.
There's no way
political
he
Yeah,
could.
there's
suicide,
no, yeah, don't even try. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a thing for the religious right to like underage girls, though. Isn't that kind of a thing?
Absolutely.
Is it though, or is it
Can
just?
we say that?
I
Is
mean,
it just a symptom
historically-
of patriarchy and like fucked up
Probably.
men?
Probably, but I mean, you get a lot of that in like these Southern Baptist groups. You get a lot of it in Mormonism. Like our founder of Mormonism, Joseph Smith, he liked 14-year-old girls, right? Like that was his jam.
Was he
Maybe-
Republican?
And he was
Probably.
most certainly a Republican.
I mean, he was.
Back then, he probably wouldn't have been. Actually,
He wouldn't have
but,
been back then. Yeah.
I think it's both, Spencer and Belinda. I think it's the religious, the hardcore religious folk. I think they uphold the patriarchy to a higher degree than non-religious folk.
Well, definitely, yeah.
So I think it's probably both. I mean, you even have this, like you're totally right about like they're so, I don't know what the word is, prudish, and I don't know. They claim to be like the party of like family values or whatever, and then they go out and do shit like this.
traditional family values.
Traditional, yes. And then they go out and have sex with underage people, and then you also have people like Lindsey Graham, where it's an open secret that he's gay, and yet he demagogues against gay people all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because the left never calls him out for the hypocrisy because they don't want to out him. Like
Like, well, it's not our place to out someone. Like, yeah.
but I don't know. It's just funny to me that he's such an evil person, and I don't know.
For sure.
It's less funny to me that he's evil, but
Oh no, it's not funny at all. And
Uh,
then you also have like
speaking
the
of evil.
preachers.
What's that?
You also have like the Catholic priests
Oh,
who,
for sure.
like systematically were raping little boys.
but you
The
use the
church
word
was-
"were." You use the word "were." I think.
I'm
are
sure
is
that
probably-
continues.
Well,
yeah.
no, I mean,
I hope not.
Cases are still coming out regularly.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
yes,
less of
you're
a
right.
surprise
It's sad.
now.
It's tragic. It's less of a surprise. We know what's happening, but for those who are unaware, I went to a Catholic high school, so I'm a little bit familiar with the system structure and all that. But to ask a person to essentially, and maybe this dovetails nicely into Mormonism, but to ask someone to literally subdue their sexuality for their entire life
Yeah.
and be just less human, it's weird. It's a lot to ask for.
Which, by the way, we do that in Mormonism.
We
It's
do,
called
and
if you're
it's
anything
not
but straight,
surprising
right?
that they
Yeah.
find an outlet, and unfortunately it's
the
been
most
kids,
vulnerable. Yeah.
boys, the most vulnerable. Absolutely.
Yep.
In the Mormon Church, they just had their semi-annual general conference.
What is that?
Yesterday and today.
What is this conference of which you speak?
So the prophet, or the president of the church, which they consider a prophet, like Moses, or these ancient biblical prophets. Rusty Nelson, the prophet of today, he and his fanboys that are his pack that he leads, they spoke to everybody this weekend and gave their words of wisdom to the Mormon people. And luckily for you all, I slogged through quotes and
Wait, you didn't watch that whole goddamn thing?
I did not watch it, but
like 10 hours of bullshit.
No,
yeah.
Jesus, that would be awful. I'd die. I can't even handle like the sing-song voices that they do.
My favorite prophet is Elisha, because people teased him.
Oh yeah,
and he was like,
and
"Fuck this shit,
fucking fire.
Bear, eat these kids." No, Bear,
the
eat
bear.
These kids.
Oh,
they called
him. And God was like, "Okay, cool.
Hey, bald head. Hey, bald head." He's like, "Fuck you, kids."
Yes.
He sends a bear to eat those bullshits.
You're now death by bear. Death by fucking bear. And God was like, "Okay, I'm good with
I'm on it.
Here's your bear."
What the fuck?
Yeah, what happened? What happened with like prophets and shit? Because they used to like be cool and have powers and like split.
That's what I thought.
Right?
That's what I thought too. Like they were the ones who were like, "Hey, this is gonna happen if you don't stop masturbating. This is what's gonna happen if you drink whatever.
Okay.
If you don't beat your wife, here's what's gonna happen." And now they're just like, "I don't know. This year was kind of rough.
Pay us some money. Pay us more money."
Like you should have known. But then the Mormon Church is like, "Well, prophets aren't, fortune tellers." Like, yeah, they fucking were. They used to say
they
like,
were.
That's
literally
what they kind of sold to everyone, right?
Thank you.
Well, Joseph, like even in Mormonism, those prophets, the early ones, like Brigham Young's fucking Joseph Smith, they're talking about like the people who live on the moon. They're talking about like all these visions they've seen. The people who live on the moon on average are 6 feet tall and tend to be approximately the same size. They dress like the Quaker Oats man.
This is literal, y'all. So just so you're aware.
He did say Quaker Oats, but yeah.
Well, he said they dress like Quakers, right? Like, and back in their mid or to early 1800s, that's how.
And then people
Quakers
live on the
dress.
sun or some shit. They were like, "Yes, people live on the sun." Like, okay,
well,
That's
the last
kingdom.
10 tribes of Israel are buried in the ice caps. Don't think about it.
That's how the earth becomes celestial, is getting sucked into the sun. I thought that's
so.
like
The last 10
kind of what I was
tribes,
taught.
like,
okay, for those not listening, but for those listening, not familiar, the wine is hitting me. Mormonism, I think it's fair to say, historically has given lots of latitude and space to prophets to say all sorts of fucked up things. Well, I shouldn't say fucked up, but more so speculative, assumptive,
creative
things that are grounded in no science, logic, reality at all.
No.
And these were declarative statements, proclamations given, and they were uttered in confidence and this idea that this is the word of the Lord.
God told me this.
But if you were to listen to the Mormon General Conference these days, you'd be like, "Oh, this is like a pep talk. This is weird."
Yeah.
And not even a pep talk, but more like,
or more
if you're
like
gay, go to hell.
Yeah.
If
just go now,
what's wrong with you if you don't believe this?
Yeah. Back in the day, it was, "Hey, little prophet, let me whisper in your ear," right? Like,
"How you doing, little mama?" Yeah. Let me whisper in your ear.
Now it's like,
do you want to see my flaming sword?
Wait till you see my sword.
No. So the best quote from conference. Okay, guys, the best quote from conference.
Belinda, you got all the quotes.
Came right out of the gate. First session. So
out of the gates.
Out of the gates.
The Matt Gates.
No, so usually there's 4 general sessions, 2 on Saturday, a morning and an afternoon, and then 2 on Sunday, a morning and afternoon.
Did they skip priesthood this year?
There was priesthood this year.
Oh, okay.
So priesthood is usually on a Saturday evening once a year, and then
Well,
the other Saturday is in the autumn is for the ladies.
To be equal.
To be separate but equal,
So
right?
equal.
Like, yeah. So The first speaker, a Sister Jones. I don't know what her calling is.
Sister Jones and me.
She must be some part of the primary, and one of my former neighbors was just called to the primary general presidency of the church.
What?
She's a lovely
Oh.
lady.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, and she's
Belinda knows all the cool people.
Seriously.
I worked with her in the Relief Society in Bountiful. She's lovely.
Don't make me
But
tell you I know.
But Sister Jones had a story. She wanted to tell
They
that.
always have stories, right?
So
Like,
primary is the arm of the church that's over children, right? Like they have primary classes for the children at church. She told a story in her talk about a child falling out of bed. Okay. And I quote,
direct.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to hold the applause till the end to this. Okay. The mother picked up the little boy and asked him what had happened. I don't know. I guess I just didn't get far enough in. It is about this getting far enough in that I would like to speak this morning.
Oh
my God.
shit.
Let's talk about this.
This is my favorite thing.
Nobody
How
said
often-
that's what she said.
Oh my God.
I'm certain
gotta get
Dieter
in
Uchtdorf
deep.
did like in the back. was like,
in.
That's what she said.
I swear to God, there's got to be some weird like Freudian thing where like Mormons repress their sexuality so much
yes.
that it slips out in normal language.
And they don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
about sex all the time. I just want to do all
What is
these
this
things.
poor woman's sex life like? This is what I want to know. She not getting it all the way in.
You mean
But
Is
horizontal
what I wish
shimmy
to
in?
speak about today.
Sister Jones.
We only
reached
have
out.
sex to procreate, Belinda.
That's true. And
That's
say
true.
it.
You don't-
It's a sacrament, Spencer.
Just the tip is enough when you're just trying to procreate.
True.
That's true.
Especially if you've been repressed. Like, oh my God.
Like,
baby.
oh shit! I
Baby,
touched
Jesus Christ.
Sometimes you have to hope you get it all the way in if you're that repressed, right? Like,
This is true.
oh god damn it, I didn't even
Yeah.
make it in before that happened. Yeah.
So she also likened the home to a spiritual training ground. So this is talking about indoctrinating your children young and thoroughly, so they don't fall away. Right.
So,
This is
so
you
by
know,
indoctrination, you might say another word for that might be like brainwashing.
just
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little
Book of Mormon stories that my teacher tells to
You have to do all the
me.
racist.
Remember
they're so
the-
bad.
Yeah.
What was
They're
it again?
bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
Book of Mormon stories.
Like,
Even the fucking tune. Oh
The
my God.
music, yeah.
Seriously.
I
The
apologize.
rhythm of it, like, geez.
To all our friends, but
Well, we do need to. I'm going to put a pin in this.
Yeah.
We do need to have a
Primary
whole
songs.
thing about. Well, I was going to say racism in the church, but that's
Okay.
way more than one. But Native Americans and the church.
Oh,
That needs to be a
yeah.
whole
the
show
placement
in and of
program.
itself.
Oh God,
yeah.
it's deep.
Anyway, sorry. Go on.
But no, she was talking about the home is a spiritual training ground of sorts for the battlefield of life. And she talked about soldiers going through the grueling training to go off to the Vietnam War. So she wants you to be a fucking drill sergeant for your
Going
kids.
back to what Kevin said though about racism in the church actually decried racism in this conference as well, which is fucking hilarious.
They
because
did.
They were
Really?
so all in when it
Which
came
is-
to like, oh, you're black, you don't get to be a normal member of this church.
No.
you don't get the
Because
highest.
Grandpappy Kane, the hairy motherfucker, killed his brother.
Oh, Jesus.
And you
If
just
you guys
weren't,
don't know what I'm
like,
talking about, it's Bigfoot and
super
speculation
faithful
by
in the pre-existence, right?
Spencer
Like,
W. Kimball, wasn't it, that speculated that Bigfoot was Cain? But
one
anyhow,
of those motherfuckers.
long-
my God.
Yeah.
that's a whole
there's so
other
many
thing.
yeah, but there's so many other things like, oh, maybe people who were physically handicapped weren't righteous in the pre-existence,
Yes.
right? These are all things that have been taught in the church for years and years and years. It's ridiculous.
It's a really great account. I think he's closing it, called mistinsunday.com.
Missed in Sunday school,
And
yeah.
Missed in Sunday
Yeah.
School or mistinsunday.com. Sure, we'll put that in the show notes. But you can check it out and you'll see little snippets of Mormon history quotes that church leaders said. Just the worst shit, man.
Yeah.
So bad.
We had some very privileged folk speak at conference too. A brother, he was not referred to as Elder Newman.
Brother.
He was Brother Newman. I don't know why.
Interesting.
So that's a kind of interesting.
New-
So usually men who speak at conference are referred to as Elder and then their last name. Elder, oh no, their first and middle initial or first initial and last name. You have to have the initial of your
K.
third
Chadwick
name.
Johnson, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So this Brother Newman talked about like some like fabulous golfing trip he took his son on to like Scotland or something. And I'm like, how fucking tone deaf. Like half your church is like really struggling. And you're just like, here, we went to like this. You've probably never heard of it, like, you know, this golf course, whatever. And then Garrett Gong talked about, you know, going on family trips to Paris and
Oh
everything.
my God.
He also said, disciples of Jesus Christ come from everywhere in every shape, size, hue, and age. And they all have talents and they have righteous desires and immense capacities to bless and serve. I don't know. This hits weird. Like
The word hue in and of itself is
yeah.
kind of fucked up.
What do you mean? I thought he was talking about Hugh, like H-U-G-H. Hugh.
Every hue.
No.
Buddy,
I think he's talking about like the
my wig row, Hugh. What's up, Hugh?
Most of the racism that was addressed in a way to just be like, can't we just all get along?
Well,
sort
yeah,
of thing. It wasn't
doesn't-
calling out racism, like
doesn't the
literally.
word hue almost like feel like it's trying to not use the word race because race
It
is
is.
a
It is.
hot
it
button
is.
word.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm just gonna like imply it.
This
Anyway.
is, I mean, I know we're being silly, whatever, joking about the Mormon Church, but it's important to recognize that with the Mormon Church, they have an entire public relations marketing department that
They're
sanitizes
awful.
every fucking word that is going to conference.
Yep.
And what does that mean for this human that supposedly speaks to God? Like, really, you're beholden to a fucking PR department, but you're talking to the eternal creator of the universe? What the fuck?
As someone who worked for the church for many years, first of all, it's a shit, terrible, awful, like the worst PR department I've ever encountered in my whole life.
They're
Like they
pretty bad.
literally just like shoot themselves in the foot over and over again. To your point, Spencer, why should the people who speak to God directly, you know, in the temple right here in Salt Lake City need a PR firm in the first place, right? And if they do, because they're speaking to God and because they
Or
have
even a
all the
fucking law
power
firm
and
What the
all the
hell?
money, shouldn't they at least have a decent PR firm? Like, my God, what the fuck
The
is God
church
good
is
for if he
built
doesn't
of
help?
yes men. This is the problem. And when you have only yes men, you make fucking ridiculous mistakes in PR because everybody's afraid to go against what you say or speak
funny.
That's
up.
true.
It's funny you say that, Belinda, because I saw somebody was tweeting about conference, a Mormon,
Mhm.
and because supposedly somebody did a
Another
talk.
victory for Satan, Will.
Hail Satan. So anyways, I guess there was a talk or something about like it was one of those like doubt your doubts type of thing.
Oh yeah.
And
Was there a boat involved?
I don't know.
Probably.
Stay
Stay
on
on
the
the boat, motherfuckers.
But somebody was tweeting saying like we as members need to allow for a space for people to express their doubts in a safe environment, because if they start communicating their doubts to doubters or to people outside of the church, they might be pulled away. And I'm just thinking, like, can you not see how culty that sounds?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, oh, we need to make sure that if somebody's having doubts, that they come here.
that
so
they
that we
don't
can
actually
correct
verify
them.
it with someone who might know the truth. Like,
Yeah.
So that was a talk by Prophet Special Boy himself, Rusty
Oh.
Nelson.
Good old
the
Rusty.
boat talk or the
The not doubting things. So Rusty, he said, you just need to choose to believe in Jesus. The choice of believing in the gospel, even among your doubts, you have to choose it. And he talked about lazy learners and lax disciples will always struggle to muster even a particle of faith. Here's the thing. I saw a comment
Yes.
from I'm in several ladies groups on Facebook of women who are still members of the church, but kind of nuanced members where they understand there are, some definite issues going on. Somebody's like, aren't the true believing Mormons really the lazy learners and the lax disciples? They're not really delving deep into any of these
Exactly.
subjects. They're skimming it
Exactly.
so that they don't see any of those scary bits, right?
Or they're not even skimming it. They're just waiting to hear whatever they're told.
True.
And that's all I need to know.
You
Just
know
whatever-
who was the biggest doubter of all Mormon history?
Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Seriously, he was the biggest doubter of all time. He denounced every other church because of the Mormons, or
He
because
was
of
like,
Mormonism.
you shouldn't believe them all. Well, God told him to. So there you
True.
go.
Right.
So I will add a little side note here. Apparently it's brother Jan, no, or probably Jan, whatever. John E. Newman, Jan E. Newman,
Okay.
because he's second counselor in the Sunday school general presidency.
Oh, he's one
So
of
he's not
those
official-
low-level dudes.
He's a low-level GA, yeah.
Yeah. No, Rusty also said, if you have doubts about God the Father and his beloved Son, or the validity of the restoration, or the veracity of Joseph Smith's divine calling, just choose to believe and stay faithful.
And there's like
It's that
it's like
easy.
10 different topics in that one line of
Yes.
Exactly.
like, we could talk about this for 10 hours. Just there's this weird thing about Mormonism with that just believe, and I'm like, what about my brain?
I
You know, you can't
believe.
They don't want our brains.
Just
Yeah.
believe, Spencer. Just
can't-
believe.
No, I mean, I did that admittedly for a very long time. And there, for those who haven't been Mormon, if you're listening to this, you may not understand or appreciate this, but you have to make a choice between, am I willing to be an individual and think for myself, or just consume what is given to me? And oftentimes I found that my morals, my values were at odds with what I was hearing.
Yeah.
And you have to make a critical choice. Am I going to act with integrity? Am I going to truly like be a good person and love everyone? Or am I going to go along with whatever rhetoric they're saying,
Right.
hate the
And-
gays or people who identify as transgender, or, subjugate women, things like that. And I present that to you in a very harsh way, but that's essentially the message of Mormonism.
Well, and it's
If
not
you do
just,
not fit the box, fuck off. That's kind of, it's like conform or fuck off.
but it's fuck off without your family, without your friends.
Exactly.
Not just for this life, but for all of eternity.
And
a lot
through
of
all
times-
generations of time. Let's not forget.
Well,
That's
that's
true.
Down,
that's
left, right,
something
left,
that
right.
I've thought, because
Contra.
it's a contradicting.
Contradicting.
idea.
Ah! Up, down, down, left, right, left, right.
A, B,
What?
A, B, A, B.
Select start.
What is going on?
Sorry, Will. Go ahead.
It's a cheat code for the video game Contra way back in the day. Yeah.
Wow, that was the oddest thing I've ever seen.
You guys are doing all these movements.
We're
Yeah.
like, free lives, yes.
Well, that's a contradicting thing I've always thought about the church, was because on one hand they try to do like the little like PR thing, like, oh, we abhor racism, and like, no, we actually do support gay people, and like stuff like that. But then they don't, right? Then they actually are pretty discriminatory towards gay people and black
Oh,
people.
very much so. Yeah. So
And-
there was an elder Doobie from Africa.
I prefer Doobie.
Definitely
Doobie.
He
Doobie.
rolls his shit.
Elder Doobie.
He rolls deep.
He said he was just before he was called to be a general authority. He's recalled feeling out of place when attending first general conference leadership meetings.
Because
I
he was
wonder
the only
why.
black person at the meeting.
Yeah. But he remembers Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles approaching him and welcoming him to the meeting and patting his face gently.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Yes, I was like, what?
Patting his face gently. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Jesus.
So there's
Christ.
that. I was like, okay, well,
What?
That's like one of the contradicting things though, is like on one hand they do the rhetoric, but on the other hand they still like I don't know, they're I don't know how to explain it. It's like the love thy neighbor and don't cast a stone if you aren't pure yourself, like that sort of like language. And they'll use the rhetoric that's aligned with that sort of like good parts that Jesus used to preach,
true.
or if he existed. But then they do the opposite. It's just
Yeah.
it's so contradicting to me.
But here's the thing.
It bothers me.
If you're racist, if you're sexist, if you're homophobic, you say things and you think you're saying the right things, and maybe you're even just saying them as a PR move. And I'm not just talking about groups like the church. I'm talking about individuals too. I get this all the time. People in my life who may have given birth to me, I don't know, whatever, who like think they're being kind to my gay children, but what they're saying is deeply offensive.
Yeah.
But they think they're being like
That's
this
so fucking
like
hard, dude.
gracious,
I can't even.
this gracious person.
I can't even imagine.
So like patting a black man on the face, or any number of things he could have done like that would be so demeaning and so
Yeah,
whatever.
patronizing
Well, it's
bullshit.
a
In his
benevolent,
mind-
patronizing move.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's
It's
exactly
it's what
supposed to do.
Mormonism does to women. It's what they do to minorities. It's what they
Yeah.
do to the other groups. If you do not
Yeah.
fit the box, fuck off. Get in the box. Or
But we're not
fuck
going to
off.
tell you to fuck off, even though we're telling you to fuck off.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then when you
Because that
question
used
me
to be
telling you to fuck
cool.
off, I'm going to be like, but I was so kind to you. I love all the gays. I just don't
All
like
the
your
gays.
actions. You could just
Hate the sin, love the sinner.
And it-
right?
it
don't-
totally
just don't
ties
have
in with
sex
this-
or date or any of these
It totally
things.
ties in with this MAGA mentality of like, okay, when you say great, what do you mean? Like, what do you
Right.
mean?
You know what it is?
Are you trying to escape culpability, accountability for the shit you say? Because that's not okay.
The word I think we're looking for is gaslighting. That's what this is.
It's true.
Oh no,
It's
no,
true.
we're being so nice to you. It's like how the Trump administration would be like, oh no, we're not racist. Look at the black unemployment rate. It's the
Look at my
lowest-
African American over there.
Yeah, like that sort of thing. It's just gaslighting.
See
all
him?
it is.
Like, oh my god. Candace Owens agrees with me, so we're good.
Oh, God.
Jesus
Fucking-
Christ.
So we
Yeah.
probably ought to wrap it, but the best quote, the one about the not getting all the way in, it was pretty great. But the best quote from conference, I thought, was by some dude named this is another brother Corbett.
Brother.
Corbett.
He
Like
said, "You
Macho Man Randy Savage used to say,
yes,
brother, hey
Brother.
brother.
Hey, brother.
He said, please use your imaginations to increase faith in Christ, not ruin it.
Your imaginations. That's gold right there.
This is a hard episode because like the longer I'm out of it all, the more ridiculous it fucking seems. And I'm
Right.
just like
Right.
hearing all these quotes and things. I'm happy that I'm not in it, but two,
True.
I feel it's pity is the wrong word, but I do feel sad for those who are unwilling to choose good.
Right.
Decency over dogma is what I call
Right.
it. Like
Oh,
just
I
be
like
fucking
that.
decent, man. Just be decent.
Well, they literally have your eternal salvation and your family hanging in front of you as like a carrot, right? Like you will lose your family, you will go to hell,
One thing I realized about this, Belinda, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but it fucking hit me in such a deep way. All right, so imagine being a kid. I don't know if any of you listening or Kevin, Belinda, Will, if you have had the experience of losing your parents as a child and you're like, oh my shit, where's my parents? I'm at this event, I'm at the fair, I'm whatever. It's like, I
Being
cannot
lost,
find
yeah.
them. And that fucking feeling, right? That feeling of separation. And the Mormon Church tells you, unless you do X, Y, Z, you're going to be separated from your family as a fucking kid.
Yep.
They
That shit
weaponize
stick. That shit
various things.
sticks. That shit fucking sticks, and it makes me so angry
It
that
sticks
they
for life.
do that. That is the
Yeah.
fucking tactic that they use.
Yep.
to keep
And
you in the system, because they're like, if you don't pay your tithing, if you don't hate gay people, if you don't go along with this prophecy about, or whatever policy about black people, basically, if you're not racist like the rest of us, you're going to hell. You're going to be separated from your family. That shit sticks. It's
Yeah.
fucked up. It's so fucked up. It makes me so upset.
Yeah.
Because they do it to kids,
They
right?
do.
It's one thing if you're grown up and you decide, you know what? Yeah, I like being racist. Cool. You can fuck off, but do your thing. Do your little racist thing. But as a
But I mean,
kid, to like be foisted or forced into this position where you have to choose, do I want to be separated from my family or do I want to be racist? It's like,
right. But I
okay.
mean, think of our parents, right? That are kind of older and have been raised in the church and indoctrinated to such an extent that they believe this wholeheartedly and are terrified of losing their families, right?
See,
They live in fear all the time.
This is because I do know a lot of really great Mormons, people who
Sure.
are decent people who I actually have a ton of respect for. And the one thing that all of the quote unquote good Mormons that I know of, they are the ones that question the church. They are the ones that actually look at the church critically, not as critically as I'd hope, but they would look and think like, yeah, you know what, there is a problem with our relations with other races. And
Yeah.
there is a problem with the church not using all the money that they get for better things. Like these are people who are actually able to critically think, and even though they have a faith in God and Jesus and that sort of thing, it's almost as if their relationship with that faith is not with the church but with like their spirituality, like it's not necessarily, they're not believing wholeheartedly in the church, but instead their faith is in Jesus and God and whatever.
Sure. And when I left the church, made the decision to leave the church, I was kind of in this situation where I didn't believe the tenets of church doctrine and things like that, but I was also terrified that, I was making this huge decision about my eternal salvation, right? Like, oh, so I need to find a different church to go to. I need to find, like I need to
Did you
continue
actually
this.
do that?
I was looking, yeah, I was looking at other churches to
Wow.
take my kids to, things like that. And because I thought, like, I need to, obviously I believe in Jesus still, right? Like, it's trying, like, you kind of are like breaking everything down. Like, what do I believe? What, you have to make decisions and you are responsible for your own beliefs and everything. And it's a difficult situation, right? Like, you've been told your whole life, you do
Yeah.
what we say and do it our way. And once you're no longer bound by those rules and you have to create your own, it's a lot of responsibility, right?
Yeah. I think just to wrap up the last point I was going to make was I hadn't heard that quote, Spencer, decency over dogma.
I made it up.
They
'Cause
made it up.
that's where I ended up. I was like,
Yeah.
No, I think
gonna follow someone's fucked up ideas.
I think that's exactly like what I'm describing. Like the people who are the quote unquote good Mormons that I know, who are kind of decent and respectable people, that's kind of how their relationship with Mormonism is it's decency over dogma. They don't they know gay people should be treated with just as much respect, because that's what, if Jesus was an actual person, that's what he probably would do.
Yeah.
If he is not the same Jesus that worked with God to like flood and kill everybody on the earth, blah 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 blah, that sort of thing. But
yeah,
here's my struggle. As someone who lived for, I don't know, 10 years maybe, not really believing that the Mormon Church was true, quote unquote, as Mormons like to use that phrase, but still fully practicing as a member of the bishopric and in leadership positions during that time period. I was in that place where I was decency over dogma, right? Like God and Jesus would want me to do my best to help people. And this is where I am. I live in fucking Provo, Utah at the time. So it is mostly Mormons around me. So the best thing I can do is create good from within, right? Like like live Christian principles and try and fit enough into the system to be able to add value to people's lives or whatever as a Christian person. But here's the real problem. I used to love the phrase, well, I don't believe, I remember telling this to my ex-wife, to lots of people actually. I don't really believe that the Mormon Church is the one true church. In fact, I'm not even sure there is one true church. But the Mormon Church clearly, this is what I used to always say, clearly does way more good than they do bad or evil.
Actually, the state liquor store and DABC do more good than the Mormon Church.
It's true.
Oh shit, that is true. When it comes to financial resources, value added, if you will, if we're in the
Value added.
business speak, right? The DABC definitely adds more value to the people of Utah. Certainly, the children, the school children of Utah, than the Mormon Church
Yep.
does, or probably has for I don't know how long.
Praise be.
But the reality is once you learn that the bad actually does outweigh the good, and once you realize you don't have to make those kinds of choices to say, well, but they do a lot of good, so I'm just going to stay and I'm just going to, it's a game changer. And then all of a sudden you get people, oftentimes I've met lots of people who have never been Mormon, know nothing about Mormonism, and are religious, but they're in a religion that's not high demand at all. And they're like, I don't understand, why do Mormons, when they, and Mormons will say this too, why do Mormons when they leave the church just kind of leave religion altogether? And it's because when you're in one of these high demand religions that ask pretty much everything from you, including your family, including everything, once you recognize that you can step away and, well, maybe relationships break and things like that, but your life doesn't crumble. Like all the bad shit they try and scare you about either isn't real or isn't actually connected to your membership in their organization. It's a game changer in that it makes you recognize, well, what are the other stories that people have told me?
Exactly.
Whether they're people in my life, people in the history books, teachers, whatever the case may be, what are the stories I'm being told that might be bullshit?
And I want to
There's a lot out there.
I want to contextualize this for listeners that, and we have a few that don't know about Mormonism, but
Sure.
to let you know, Mormonism is not just a church in that you go to church on Sunday and drink some wine and eat a cracker and you're good to go.
If
Oh,
only.
that would be cool.
Right? You are
be
working to
great.
becoming a cracker. Just kidding. But
Oh,
so there's
True,
Sunday
though.
church, which for all of us growing up was 3 hours. Now it's 2. So that's a 2 to 3 hour commitment, we'll say, every week. All right. On Sunday alone. And then you've got Monday night, which is, hey, you need to spend an hour with your family teaching them some gospel lesson,
Rice
eating
Krispie
some
treats,
cookies and
Yeah.
downing some caffeinated soda. Cool. Tuesday, you've got usually a youth program, or it might be, at least for me growing up, Seminary Institute was not, and by that I mean Bible study, you can think of it that way,
Yeah.
was not something that I did during school hours regularly. So this was another activity during the week. Wednesday, you had your youth programs. So you had your young men's or young women's, sometimes on Thursday as well, or special activities.
Or Relief
Then-
Society things.
Or Relief
Yeah.
Society things called homemaking meeting. It was so fucking patriarchal
Wow.
and
Yeah.
stupid. Like, here's how to bake a cake or whatever, or underwater basket weaving. And then on Friday, we would do church game night. So everyone would come back to church again, like literally every fucking day of the week. And then Saturday, for us in Jamaica, where I grew up, we were responsible for groundskeeping and cleaning of the building.
Yeah.
So I meant,
Yep.
like, literally, I shit you not, we would wake up early in the morning, mow the fucking lawns, weed everything, clean. I mean, that's not to say it was all shitty. Like, I have good memories in that.
Yeah.
We would
Sure.
make lunch for each other, whatever. It was great. But
But
the
those are
Mormon
just-
Church requires a lot of you. If you think about it, in terms of
does.
time, talents, possessions
Yeah.
and
Let me
all
throw
that
some-
has been gifted to you or whatever for the
Let me throw
building up
something
of the
out.
kingdom of God. Yes.
out there, because I've said the same thing a lot before too. Oh, the stake dances and the road shows and like all these
The fun
all these
activities.
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's socializing with other humans. That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the church. The
Yeah.
church may have sponsored those things in order to keep you. Because guess what? This is culty behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you plan every moment of a person's life and say, if you miss this, then you're essentially moving away from God. You're
Well,
moving
see,
away from all the
the
positive things.
the activities were meant to be fun because that's the tool that they were using.
Well,
to
Keep you
indoctrinate.
engaged. Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember the fun things like road shows, stake
Yeah.
sports, things like that. But we also had little things that they still kind of have, but called like the stake farm, where you
Yeah.
had to go shovel fucking manure
Really?
on
Right.
Saturday
Weed
mornings.
fields.
Do
things
free
like that.
labor,
What?
free labor
Yeah.
for the, which by the way, nothing pisses me off more. It really does. Well, that's not true.
Lots of things. piss you off,
There's
it's
several
fine.
things that piss me off more about Mormonism, but one of the big things that piss me off, I mean, like the homophobic, racist, sexist stuff pisses me off more. But of the like non like very obvious things, the thing that makes me most upset when I'm speaking to current members of the church is when they talk about the charity that the church does, that the all the they'll talk about millions. I even hear them sometimes say billions of dollars.
God.
Like there was an article by what's her name, Peggy
Fletcher Stack.
Fletcher Stack, yeah, from the Trib, and she's great,
Yeah.
but she I wish she would have been more careful in the way she worded something, because I hear Mormons quote this figure all the time. They're like, the church gave $2.5 billion worth of charity to, well, guess what? That's from 1985 until now.
Yeah.
And most importantly, a vast majority, and we can only corroborate so much of this because the church refuses to open up their books in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
unless they're absolutely required to by law.
Right.
But a vast
It's
majority
okay though,
of,
because God knows the books, Kevin.
a vast majority of that is, and they will admit to this if you twist their arms enough, is human labor done by members of the church who are either forced into it in order to get like food to let their family survive, or B, forced into it because they sinned. And
Yep,
that's not
because you
bullshit.
gave a blowjob.
I know
Yep.
all about that. Not
You
because
were
I
in a
had to do it,
bishopric.
because
You
I was in
know
a
these
bishopric.
things. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know these.
Or number three, we're forced into it by their church leaders or their parents by guilt, because they were like, this is God's way, this is whatever. And I guarantee fucking to you, whatever the maximum amount they can claim for that human labor that people are being forced into by the IRS, they absolutely claim.
Right.
And so that 2.5 billion over, what would it be, like 15, 35, 36 years now? 2.5 over 36 years. First of all, the number goes down drastically per year. And second of all, when you think about all the free labor that people do, hardly any of that is actual capital, like funds or investments or things like that. It's all smoke and mirrors. Like the church does everything they can to look their best. And the reality is they're a fucking corporation. And we talk about corporations a lot on this show, and they are no different
Corporations
than
are people too, my friend.
It's true.
In
And-
the United States, for sure.
Got binders full of women.
Yeah, that's true. We'll post a bunch of interesting quotes found from conference that you might enjoy. The worst designed ones, I think, are done by the Daily Herald in Provo. They're
Yeah.
terrible, hideous. You can probably see them on their website. I think the Daily Herald still owns the domain Hark the Herald,
They
as
do.
in
.com.
dark.com,
Wow.
as in the angels sing. And you can see some other special conference quotes there, but we'll post a few really fun
Yeah.
ones, on our show notes. But yeah, I think it's been a good discussion, and I am sufficiently wine drunk.
Same.
I just
That,
checked. Hark the Herald is a thing.
Wow.
It is. This is a city.
I'm fucked
This
up
is
on
a
wine
city
too.
in the
Utah.
United States. Like,
I am fucked up on wine too, so it's okay.
well, here's the
Yeah.
thing. Merry Easter, everyone. I almost said Christmas, but
Yeah.
I know
Happy
there's
Jesus Zombie Day.
Zombie Jesus
there's
Day,
some
yeah.
disagreement on this, but I feel like different alcohols hit you differently, man. Like
Absolutely.
I don't
So-
know.
Fun fact: Kevin and I drank over a liter of tequila straight last night.
well, we made one margarita, and then we were like, we infused the tequila with. I had
Kevin
done it like
did,
3
yeah.
days before. I chopped up a pineapple,
Fresh
and
pineapple, yeah.
for 3 days I would shake it up occasionally in a bottle, and it's so fucking delicious. But so it was a 1.75 liter bottle, and some of it was gone, so it was about a liter probably. We didn't measure, but we made a margarita, and it was so delicious. But I was like, you know, I bet this is good just over ice, just this pineapple.
Of course.
And it was, of
Over a
course, it was
spinning
so
clear
smooth,
ice cube.
So, it was so good.
We drank the
Um,
whole bottle.
We finished.
Wow.
It.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
he
you
has a
delivered.
photo of how full it was when we started and
I'll post
where
it
it
to the
ended.
show notes, yeah.
The big bottle of Lunazul. Yeah.
And no hangover.
gone.
No hangover.
Actually, yeah, that was the wild part. We're like,
Yeah.
wow, we actually woke up this morning.
but I think it was.
I know
because
you
it was
guys
not a lot of
invited me and I was
sugar.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not leaving my house. I'm too tipsy for this shit.
I was already
And
about
Will
like a
was
bottle
like-
deep of another
Yeah.
wine.
I was like, I polished off a bottle. No. But thanks for
All right.
joining us today. It's been fun.
Yeah.
As always.
Let us know if you had favorite moments of conference that we haven't talked about, because frankly, none of us watched it. We
No,
got information
God.
from
Yeah.
social
There's
media.
a real I will give a shout out. There's a really great account on social media called Outer Dankness.
Yes.
Oh,
Ooh,
And
yeah.
they give a fucking hilarious summary of conference every time. It's just full of memes and videos and just rebuttals, and it's
You watch
fantastic.
a story and it's just gold
Hilarious.
every
Outer
time.
Dankness. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes.
A
For
play
sure.
on outer darkness, which is the Mormon hell that none of us want to go
Extreme
to.
hell, yeah.
Yeah, Outer Darkness is going to be so much more fun than the Celestial
It's where the
Kingdom.
cool
Well,
kids are.
Come on,
Maybe we should do an episode on that. That shit used to give me nightmares, man.
let's do it.
Really?
Have I denied Christ today? Am I going to outer darkness?
We'll have to like show a diagram of the 3 degrees of glory.
Yeah,
and,
Yeah, there's
like,
4.
Oh my
There's
god.
4 with outer darkness, right?
Yeah, and
God.
like it looks like a I don't know, like a medical diagram of like testicles or something.
Sperm
Like
and
yeah, it's like
testicles and-
It makes sense though.
yeah, that is true.
All right.
So, all right, kids.
Tell your friends about us. We know we have some super fans. We talked to one this evening. We have several of you.
Shout out to
Um,
Mandy.
Shout out to Mandy. Shout out to
Mandy.
Big Dick Darren. As
Big Dick
always. Shout out to all of you. You know who you are. You know who you are, and we
It's
love you.
all of you.
But we want more of you to listen, because we love it when you interact with us. We love having conversations with each other, but also with all of you.
And
And
we'll
if
do
we
a,
can-
we'll do a cocktail next time for sure. I know we did whiskey
Absolutely.
last time and wine. You guys are probably like, "Oh, what's going on?" But
Lazy motherfuckers.
let's do a cocktail. It felt right. The blood of Christ. You know,
The
we had
blood of
to.
Christ.
Drinking in remembrance
Easter
of
and
him.
conference.
The blood of
ultimate-
Christ compels you to listen to Thirst and
It's like a,
Impressions.
what do you call that? Like a super,
An exorcism.
no, like the when the sun and the moon fucking align.
I don't know.
An eclipse?
Confluence. Eclipse.
But no, there's like the
a
super
celestial
ones. I don't know.
convergence. I don't know.
Maybe it's when planets align or
I feel
something.
like I'm
that.
referencing Thor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Anyway, yeah, it was super, super Holy Week. And by Holy Week, we mean Holy Week. But
Like
I don't know what that means.
holy, like
Holy is in
WHOLLY.
Oh, okay.
completely weak, yeah.
Completely
No,
weak.
but with
Simping.
General Conference and
It was a
Easter,
week of simping.
super simp, yeah.
Super
It was a
simp.
super simp week, yeah. Anyway, I don't know where we're going, but
Either.
we love you. Subscribe. We have to say that every
Jesus Christ.
time.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Oh, we need to get him on the show.
Oh, definitely. If you
Mike
watched,
Servan.
if you watched and you made
Servan.
it this far, you're amazing. But tell us what your favorite wine is, like brand
yeah.
or type or whatever.
What wine are
I'd
you
love to
drinking?
know. There's so many different kinds of wine.
So many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for recommendations.
Also,
Me
tell us
too.
your favorite liquor store in Utah for buying wine. There's a wine store downtown that's always good for wine, but
True.
some are clearly better than others when it comes to having.
One on 90th is by far the best to me.
Yeah, don't go to Pleasant Grove. All right. Love you all. Not really,
Love
but
you.
you know, I'm just saying that.
I
love
do.
you all.
I really love you all. So
All
Bye.
right. Good night, friends. Peace.
On my mission, I thought I had hemorrhoids because of riding the bike. This is a true story. This is a true fucking story. This is a true fucking story. Listen. So I bent over, spread my ass cheeks, and I was like, "Hey, companion, I need a favor. I need you to tell me, do I have hemorrhoids?"
You don't have a bathroom mirror in your apartment?
You're very stretchy, I guess.
I
You
have
bend down and put your
floor-
head between your legs.
a series of mirrors angled.
So that traumatized me for a bit.
So what is a hemorrhoid essentially? I don't really know what a hemorrhoid is.
That person needs to see a doctor.
oh my god. I'm just tired from this wine, honestly.
Come a chameleon.